Load up Fallout 4, start a new game, create a character to match your real-life dashing qualities. Perfect. Welcome to your relaxing life as a middle-aged retired soldier. Here you can drink coffee, play with your son, and talk to your futuristic Roomba, when suddenly you get a knock at the door. It's a man trying to sell you things. Much like any other person trying to sell something on your doorstep, slam the door in his face. If you wanted to buy something, you would use Amazon like any other normal person. Just kidding. He's here to tell you that the world might get nuked soon, and you're invited to a special little party they're having underground. Tell him about yourself, including how strong you are, and agree to attend his party underground. It's just as well that you did, because conveniently you're about to get nuked immediately after his appearance. Run down the street to the nearby vault entrance. Realize you forgot your wife and child, run back and get your wife and child and run to the vault. You can already start to see how powerful your plot armor is because the nuclear bomb is kind enough to wait for you to be in the correct position before exploding, allowing you to go down to the vault just in time for you to avoid getting a nice juicy dose of radiation. Once inside the vault, you'll be given some clothes and follow a very nice doctor who asks you to go into the decontamination chamber. It's clear to see that this vault is very professional and takes steps to make sure the radiation from the nuclear bomb isn't affecting it should the decontamination be painful. Never mind, you weren't being decontaminated but frozen. Despite being frozen, you regain consciousness just in time to see your child get kidnapped and your wife get shot in the face, which is nice. The evil man behind this act also shows you his face and how evil it is to make sure you know he's evil. After a while, you regain consciousness and get out of the scientific freezer. Realize your wife is still dead, take your anger out on some cockroaches, which appear to be a little larger than before, find a pistol and a Pip-Boy, which must have been made by Nokia because it still works after many years, and using the Pip-Boy, escape out of the vault with no concern for potential radiation poisoning or bombs exploding. After leaving the vault, go back to your house where your sentient Roomba is still alive. Tell him your child has been kidnapped and he will have a breakdown. Surprisingly not about your missing child, but about cleaning.
The car! How do you polish rust?
The Roomba mentions that people are still alive in a nearby town and suggests you go search there for your son. This would be a very short game if your son was just around the corner, but unfortunately he's not. On your way to the nearby town, you'll find a dog at a petrol station. This is Dogme and is your new best friend, and if you so much as ever hurt him in any way, I will find where you live and personally tickle your toes with a feather. Arrive at the town and you'll see some raiders attacking some civilians. Thankfully, raiders are just people, and people can be killed with bullets. I mean, at least you're not having to deal with some creature mutated by the radiation, are you? Oh! After helping out the civilians through some psychic bullshit, one of them will tell you that your son is still alive and that you should search Diamond City. With nothing else to go on, head over to Diamond City and speak to the mayor about your missing son. Similar to most political leaders, the mayor won't help you, so look for Detective Valentine, who much like your son, is currently missing and requires rescuing. He's being held captive in a vault by some wannabe mafia individuals who value wearing fedoras over head protection. Fortunately, this works out in your favor later. After rescuing the detective and escaping the vault while murdering more fedora-wearing assholes in the process, go back to the detective's office and talk to him about your son. Turns out the detective has seen one of the kidnappers and he was living in Diamond City with a 10-year-old boy. Time to catch a predator. Get the key, go to the kidnapper's house, go inside, find a hidden room. It would be too much to ask if the kidnapper was still there, but at least there's a lot of stuff inside for you to steal. Using your best friend Dogmeat, track the scent of the kidnapper out of the city to his special hideout. After fighting your way through a series of Terminator knockoffs, confront the kidnapper. Apparently he sold your kid to the Institute. News that you take, very well. Apparently the Institute is like my dad, as it's nowhere to be found. The detective, who's called Nick because I'm struggling to say the word detective for some reason, suggests speaking to a reporter named Piper in Diamond City. There's not actually much point in speaking to the reporter, as Nick mentions a way to scan the kidnapper's brain and look at his memories. However, this has only been done with a living person, and the kidnapper isn't exactly meeting that criteria at the moment. Fortunately, Nick says as long as we have some brain, we can still look at his memories with the help of his friend, Dr. Amari. Being the absolute psychopath that you are, you happen to take a piece of his brain when you killed him, and meet with Dr. Amari to look at his memories. After rewatching your wife's murder and son's kidnapping from third-person mode this time, you learn that there's no way to find the Institute because they just teleport all over the place. However, you find out that a doctor named Virgil working with the Institute went rogue and is hiding near the glowing sea. So I guess we gotta go find him and get him to tell us how to teleport. The name Glowing Sea is actually false advertising, as it makes the area sound magical and ocean-like, of which it is not. It's green and shit. The closest thing to an ocean is the pool of piss produced by the Deathstalker over there, but nonetheless traverse the land chugging Radaway and Rad-X to try and prevent the copious amounts of radiation from turning your body into something with more than 4 legs and 10 arms, and find your way to the cave, which the road doctor is hiding in. It would appear the effects of the radiation haven't done him any favours in the slightest, but after convincing him that you're not here to unload a fat man in his face, but on business about the current state of a missing child that you're in, he will tell you that you must find a Corsair, which is like the knockoff Terminators you've seen previously, with the exception of more hurty power. Locate the Corsair by following its radio signal. It's in this building, currently murdering all the people inside, so after fighting your way up the tower, find the synth, dispatch him much like any other enemy you've come across so far, take the chip inside his brain, since that's the only reason you need him, and take it back to Dr. Amari. Apparently the doctor is capable of connecting your brain to the brain of a dead man, but retrieving a small bit of information from this chip is slightly too difficult. She mentions some people who could help called the Railroad, who unfortunately are just around the corner, so after following a convoluted puzzle to a church and fighting some ghouls, you find yourself face to face with the leader of the Railroad, who will decode the chip for you. Afterwards, take the code from the chip back to Virgil, and through some magic of game development, we can use the code to hijack a teleporter so it teleports us instead of a Corsair. Build the teleporter using the bits of junk you found on the many enemies you've dispatched up until this point, and teleport your way into the Institute. Surprisingly, it's very quiet. While sneaking around trying to remain undetected, a man called the Father will start talking to you through the speakers, alerting basically everyone to your presence. He wants to speak with you, so go down the elevator that he has complete control of. This isn't a trap, what do you mean? It actually isn't a trap, and finally you'll find your son, who doesn't recognize you, since you know he was a baby, but regardless, try to convince him that you're his dad. Obviously he doesn't believe you and thinks you're going to kidnap him. Oh, how the tables turn. The father will walk in and turn your son off. That just sounds so bad. The father will walk in and turn your son off. Turns out that's not your son, but a synth version of your son. Furthermore, the father is actually your son. So the father is your son, but is also the father of your synth son, but everyone calls him the father, so he's everyone's father, so I guess you're the grandfather? Are you still following? He will try to convince you to join the Institute, and of course you join with no paternity tests or anything, because it's perfectly reasonable that the 60-year-old man could be your son. He doesn't even have my mustache, how could he be my son? Get acquainted with the other members of the Institute. You're probably thinking these people will be important to the story later. If only that were true. Up until this point, it's likely that you've been working with a faction of either the Minutemen, the Brotherhood of Steel, or the Railroad. And despite your son being the CEO of the Institute now, you're still going to betray them because they're dicks. So go and retrieve a rogue synth along with another courser to get on the Institute's good side. Then your son will ask you to go retrieve 4 more synths in the custody of the Railroad. You're not about that life, so let them go. Unfortunately, there were a few casualties on the way. Surprisingly, your son isn't too happy about the casualties on the previous mission, but invites you to a meeting with the other leaders of the Institute, where he tells you he's got cancer and he's gonna die. It sounds like some messed up DNA is gonna do our job for us. Since we were most recently around the Railroad faction, we're going to help them and betray the Institute. Meet with a man known simply as the Patriot, who's been helping the synths escape the Institute before you, and meet with his synth friend, Z1. Together, you agree to evacuate 13 synths, but the Railroad leader thinks this isn't enough synth evacuation and wants to evacuate all the synths. Speak to Z1 about evacuating all the synths. Naturally, he agrees. Give them some weapons, kill some guards, and prepare to betray Daddy. Sean. Z1 will ask you to keep helping Sean so he doesn't get suspicious. So run a few errands for him, collect some things, help some people, build a nuclear reactor. Wait, what? After building the nuclear reactor, Z1 will tell you they are ready, but the Railroad is about to be attacked by the Brotherhood of Steel. Go to the Railroad hideout and deal with them. Brotherhood of Steel, more like Brotherhood of Noobs. Am I right? Please don't unsubscribe. Before going into the Institute, you need to take out the Brotherhood of Steel so they don't bother us more than they already have. Go to a police station and Brotherhood of Steel one of their helicopter plane things, fly to their HQ and blow it up with some explosives. Finally, you're ready to take down the Institute. Go into the Institute, find Z1 and murder some innocent bystanders. He will access the terminal, allowing the Railroad to infiltrate the place. Surprisingly, the Institute isn't too happy about you breaking and entering, so you must fight your way through a series of synths to get to the nuclear reactor. The door is locked and needs to be opened using Sean's terminal. Go to Sean's office to confront him on his cancer deathbed one last time before hacking into his computer, opening the door, killing more synths, placing an explosive on the nuclear reactor and getting out of there. You'll get teleported to the top of a tower with a detonator in front of you. Use the detonator, causing the entire Institute to explode. While you didn't achieve your original goal of saving your son, you did get to commit mass genocide, which personally I think is a better outcome, as you complete Fallout 4.